Oh no, we don't want a video.
Let's video it.
Trust me. I want to thank the Bridgetender and Zano's for hosting this event. Big time. Zano's. So Scottie, Chris, Carmine, and Tim, thank you so much. I'm absolutely honored that you did this for us. Jimmy would be very proud, and he'd be laughing like hell. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. It's great to see this many people and without ankle monitors. So this is a good sign from the start. Jimmy was born September 17th, 1950. He was the first of 5 boys. He was born a blue baby. It wasn't supposed to survive, actually. So it was a treat to all of us that he made it. That he made it this far. He told the joke afterwards that, at that time the doctors would slap the baby's bottom to get a response. Jimmy said when he was born, the doctor slapped his mother. All right. 3 years later at Christmas, Jimmy showed me what to do with a Christmas tree. He reached up and he grabbed a candy cane off of the Christmas tree and ate it. I was 1.5. So Jimmy's showing me what to do, and I reached up and grabbed a glass ornament. And my parents were at the emergency room, and they're going, Jimmy, what are you doing? You're supposed to be watching your brother Tommy. Jimmy, that's when he perfected this look. I'm going to do it for you. He used that many times over the course of his life, and I was so proud to learn that very early myself. We all went to St. Teresa's grammar school, a Catholic grammar school, at the same time. So there was Georgie, my brother Jerry, Billy was the youngest, and then Jimmy was the oldest, and I was just behind Jimmy 2 years. But it's hard having 5 ill-behaved boys in one school, as you can imagine. But most of my upbringing came from listening to Georgie and Jimmy, really. They were sort of my teachers. And one night we were at Fenton's Ice Cream Parlor in Oakland. Oh, yeah. Great place. Fenton's Ice Cream Parlor. We were there, and they were giving me tips on how to avoid confession. Confession was a Catholic thing where you went in and you got your sins confessed. So they sat me down, and the first thing they told me was, never admit to more than 3 weeks since your last confession. So you say, bless me, Father, for I've sinned. It has been X number of weeks. And he said, never say more than 3 without a lawyer present. And then Georgie chimes in and says, oh, don't tell him about impure thoughts. Because once you tell the priest about impure thoughts, he just wants to hear more and more and more about it. So I'm getting all this great advice at Fenton's, and then they deliver our check, and there was a big birthday party going on right next to us at this big table. So Jimmy points to the waitress like this. He waves, and then he goes, like, they're going to pick up our tab. And so Jimmy says, Georgie, Tommy, follow me. So we dined and ditched that night, and I learned so much in one night while I was 12. That was really everything I needed to know to go on. In 1968, Jimmy got arrested for the first time. He's just out of high school. He has a girlfriend who is the vice president of Standard Oil, California. So Jimmy was dating above his station in life. So they get arrested. They all get carted down in a paddy wagon into juvenile hall.
Wait.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
This is a true story. Jimmy decides this is the perfect time to introduce my parents to her parents. Pops, I'd like you to meet the vice president of Standard Oil of California. He goes, this is my dad, the milkman. It didn't go well after that, the relationship. A week later, Jimmy joined the Naval Air Reserve. Joe can't tell, he didn't quite make it here. Okay. It was Jimmy's military friend. Jimmy did not want to go to Vietnam, I'll be honest with you. So he picked joining the Naval Intelligence, so they would send him to Denver to work in a vault looking at aerial photography. So look for things like spy planes and tanks on the ground and things like that. So he joined a Navy and was in Denver, nowhere near an ocean, absolutely the furthest you could possibly be. So he survived his 6 years of Naval Air Reserve, came out pretty much unscathed, and that led him up to Lake Tahoe, where he came up in the, I guess, mid-1970s. Does anybody have an exact date there? It's something like that. And that's when he came into his own. I mean, he met so many wonderful people. You guys made him a community that he'd never really had before in Oakland. And he was so proud of that community that he just didn't want to go, ever, never wanted to leave. This was Jimmy. I mean, I was working in Sequoia National Park at the time, and we took 8 friends to visit him. I took 8 friends up for a surprise visit at his little dairy house. This was a tiny little house. Jimmy swings open the door, and he sees that I got 7 people behind me, and he goes, well, come on in. This will be a great weekend. There's plenty of egg and water in the refrigerator. But he was very proud to share whatever he had. And then he brought in one of those 3-gallon jugs of ice cream, Jamocha almond fudge, handed out spoons and said, this is breakfast. We had a ball. I mean, being around Jimmy was the best thing you could possibly do. He had a brief marriage in the early 1980s, and the best thing to come from that was his daughter, Alyssa. And then Alyssa married Jake Rice, and they had a little grandchild, Jack, later on, and they were just so important to Jimmy. It was just unbelievable. So I'd call it a huge success. Jimmy's wedding to Marlene, though, in 1989 was any of you were at Jimmy's wedding in 1989? Yeah, there's several hands. So this was funny. This was really funny. I was the photographer, just the photographer. And so I'm taking pictures downstairs at the National Hotel in Nevada City. That's it. Brilliant old hotel, absolutely gorgeous. Somebody raises their glass. I mean, everybody's drinking. Everybody was drinking. And somebody raises their glasses and says, as a toast, I'm never missing any of Jim Stohlgren's weddings. I'm thinking that was inappropriate, There it was on tape, and then the ceremony comes. Jim and Marlene make the most beautiful couple in the world. There's a couple nice pictures of them out there. The priest is going through the ceremony, and all of a sudden he says, with this little ring, and Jim stops him. It's not a little ring. He says, she's got small fingers, I'm not cheap. He yells that out. That's on the video. The ceremony goes on. And do you, Marlene, take Jim to be your lawfully wedded husband and for sickness and in health, rich or for poor, as long as you both shall live? Marlene says, yeah. Jimmy, do you take Marlene to be your lawfully wedded wife and sickness and in health and rich or poor and all yada, yada, yada to the end? And Jim says out loud, could you repeat the question? Has that ever happened before? Has anybody seen that? At the honeymoon, at the honeymoon in Australia or New Zealand, one of those two, somebody recognized Jimmy's laugh walking down the street. Another continent, they heard Jimmy's laugh and they went, Jimmy Stohlgren's got to be here. Yeah, he was. Somehow they had met at Tahoe on a vacation. That was pretty funny. The Leonard Nimoy story. Star Trek, Leonard Nimoy. Okay, so Jimmy put an ice machine on top of a refrigerator at the Lake Forest house. Only it made a little noise. And he was in the same homeowners association as the great Leonard Nimoy. So they were together at one of the homeowners association's meetings, and Leonard said, Jimmy, what are you doing? Mr. Stohlgren, a lot of us moved up here at the lake to have, very quiet and scenic areas to live in. And you're making all this noise. Jimmy says, Leo. Can I call you Leo? Don't think of me as a small businessman just trying to earn a living up here, eking out a living. Think of me as the 3 Mile Island of Lake Forest. Of course, Leonard Nimoy is a big environmentalist, and that didn't go over exceedingly well. The cribbage tournament. We have some cribbage players in here, and Jimmy was famous for winning a tournament and then being interviewed by the Tahoe Sun. Now, what was funny was Jimmy, he knows he's going to get quoted, but they ask him, what are you going to do after winning this big tournament? He says, I'm going to go home and beat my wife. That's what gets printed. Unbelievable. My family, you probably didn't see me growing up here, but my family and I used to vacation here every August or September, and we'd come out from Colorado, and we would eat Haagen-Dazs ice cream at Skylandia until we exploded. So about 10 days later, 14 days later, we'd pick up stakes and go back home. But those were the vacations. That was our idea of a great time, being with Jimmy and Marlene, seeing the brothers, and that was everything to us. It kept the family together, those wonderful vacations. And now we've moved out from Colorado to Reno so that we can be around our kids. That's good news. And then it's also good news that Jimmy and Marlene's house on Sierra View, right off Lake Forest, is now in the hands of Connor and Michelle Stohlgren Shea back there. So the legacy is gonna stay here. We still get to vacation. We're gonna be closer members of the community now. Jimmy visited us in Colorado too, and there's just a couple things to share there. He showed me how to pick up a golf ball while driving in a golf cart. So he drives along in the golf cart, and he leans over and he picks up the golf ball perfectly well. And then I happen to hit mine in the other fairway. So he did the same thing for me, only when I went down to lean to get the golf club, he turns the wheel real quick, and I did 3 somersaults into the fairway. That's my brother. He went to the Bible bookstore there, the Bible bookstore in Fort Collins, and he walked in and asked where the adult section was. That's him. I know. Shannon, to this day, because we ate a lot, my daughter Shannon, because we ate so much sour cream, we'd walk into a restaurant, Jimmy would say, order extra sour cream and butter. Because that's what you do when you're at a restaurant, so that he could make more money up here selling the sour cream and butter. To this day, though, in Texas, she orders more sour cream and butter. I mean, that's how big of an effect Jimmy's had on all of us. So how did Jimmy deal with death? When Jeff Dworkin died, actually, that took a piece of Jimmy's heart. And until then, I think he thought he was invincible, totally invincible. And then after that, I said, Jimmy, you're going to change your ways now, that you think, anything could happen? And no, but I'm going to think about it more. That was his answer to just about everything. He's still out to have an absolutely great time. My mom had a funeral in 1992. She died at 63. That was pretty young. And so Jimmy, the minute before he was supposed to go on and do the eulogy, he says, Tommy, go up and do it. What? And so I said, oh my God, I got to impress Jimmy and this whole church, the church right down the hall here. I don't know if it's down the road, St. Mary's, is that the name of the? Corpus Christi. Okay, so is it Corpus Christi? Nobody knew, yeah. We can't be sure of that. Anyway, so there I am, and I'm stunned. Not only do I have to please this big audience at my mother's funeral, but I got to please Jimmy, because that's my number one audience, always has been. And so I'm going along, and I'm just getting up to see the priest, and the priest luckily says, I was just so happy to see Ann and her husband John visit the church every Sunday. Jimmy and I look at each other. Her husband's name, my dad's name, Bob, or Pops. So Bob. So I tell some stories about my mother's great cooking, and growing up, as she hit us with a spoon and it would disappear the next day. I get done with the typical stories of my mom's stories, and then I go, but it wasn't until today I learned that she came to church with some guy, some marriage wrecker named John, like that. And Jimmy just cracks up, and so does the whole congregation. And at that point, I knew we were going to be okay, Jimmy later on at Jake's in the Lake was having too good a time, and my cousin elbows me. Jimmy's making everybody laugh. He was the center of attention. He owned the room, and Jimmy's laughing like crazy. And my cousin leans to me and says, "I've never seen Jimmy so broken up." That was him. When my dad died in 2011, I have a picture over there where Jimmy decided to spread his ashes at a spring training game with the Cubs and the A's. And so, Jimmy, you can't do that, it's not going to look good. My lovely bride Cindy says, you guys are all going to get arrested. You can't just throw ashes out on a baseball field. Jimmy throws the ashes out. My brother Billy's there. Some of the ashes get picked up by the wind and go into a kid's hot dog, just a little bit away. Things are looking bad right now. Then they got worse. So, yeah, how did they get worse? Well, it was St. Patty's Day, and I got Jimmy celebrating like all gangbusters, and I got my other brother Billy, who just got out of rehab, and I'm in between them. And so this was like a nightmare for me. And then Jimmy says, "I'm going to have a smoke." So, yeah, there's a smoking section right up there. Well, he was smoking pot. "Jimmy, you can't do that. It's a smoking section, but not for pot. You can get arrested here for that, Oh, well, Anyway, so there are some delightful pictures. If you haven't signed the guest book, I need you to sign that guest book that's over there in the corner with the pictures. Look at the pictures, but sign the guest book. That's really important. I get points for that, right, Holly? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then, most important was how Jimmy dealt with life, though, not with death. And so, the way he dealt with life was by showing up. He was here for every major charity event that there was, and he never missed an ice cream event, bringing the ice cream for the annual ice cream event. He sponsored softball teams. I don't know if you remember the Crystal Derriers. Crystal Creamers, that was he's a pretty funny guy, but he did a lot of charity work. He worked with Big Brother. He worked with Derek and his family. I want Derek to come up in a moment. Derek, you're next. But I want everyone here to make one of those promises to be that kind of person, to be the person who shows up at all those charity events, because they're really important, not just for you, but for all those people that they support. I know that if Jimmy was here today, so I want to support Marlene. Where's Marlene? Marlene, you're the best. Yeah. So Marlene is destined for sainthood. There's no question. She is destined. There's a place in heaven for her. Okay. The last thing I want to say, that I remember that Hunter S. Thompson was a great novelist, and when he died, he had Johnny Depp put his ashes in a cannon and shoot them out. And I thought, how wonderful! If Jimmy was here right now, he would do the same thing, but he'd do it into the wind, so that we all got his ashes, because that's what he did. So I'll raise a toast to everyone here. Thank you all so much for coming. You've honored him. You've honored Tahoe as a community. Here's to those who wish us well, and those that don't can go to hell. Thank you very much. Derek, you're next.
Great job, Tommy.
That's what I learned.
I'm Derek Albee, Connor Albee's dad. Christy, my wife, standing up tall.